Big Zay!
Morning, Brad.
Morning, boys. What's going on?
Well, you are on the story, and we know that the Bears travel, and we know that maybe Lamar Jackson starts, although he's yet to take any first-team plays, which is kind of weird because it's already he's been limited in the first two practices he's had since he went down with injury. Do you anticipate him playing?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to operate with the idea that the Ravens season, after just a terrible start at 1-5, is on the line here. And so if he can in any way get out there, even understanding that he's not going to be 100%, I think he's got to try to get out there. I certainly think the Ravens need to get him out there. And then, guys, you look at it, they've got a quick turnaround. They've got the Thursday game next week. I believe they're playing Miami, but it's one game at a time for a team that was one of the heavy favorites in the AFC to have a shot at the Super Bowl, and they are close to life support now, as poorly as they've played, and just been. I know it's Lamar, and it should be. He's a two-time MVP who probably should have gotten his third award last year. This defense has been hit for 37 or more points in 4 games. And they've only played 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
They gave up 41 to Buffalo, 38 to Detroit, 37 to the Chiefs, and the Houston Texans, who have got all sorts of issues, certainly offensively, put 44 on them at M&T Bank Stadium. So they've got some help coming back. Roquan Smith will play. Yeah, looks like Kyle Hamilton's got a shot at coming back here, but Justin Matabuke, the defensive tackle, super talented. He's out until who knows when with a neck injury. So there's a shot here for the Bears. Here's a Bears, as you guys know, Bears are number 1 in the league with a plus 11 turnover margin, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Baltimore Ravens are -7. They're 31st in the league. They've got 3 takeaways for the season, which is tied for second worst in the league. 1 interception. Think all the picks the Bears have had. The Ravens have 1 pick. The only team with fewer takeaways than the Baltimore Ravens is the lowly New York Jets. 1 takeaway in 7 games. Unbelievable.
It is, because you look at the secondary and the names and the credentials of the players who are there would lead you to believe that it's a secondary that's going to create more turnovers than not. You look at the defensive line, you said, yeah, they're missing a defensive tackle, but what the Ravens are doing or not doing defensively is baffling, Brad. I don't know if there's any one thing that the Bears are going to try to exploit, because I don't know where it starts with the Ravens. They have been wildly unsuccessful, and they are giving up 32 points a game, so there seems to be an opportunity, but you look at the individuals and you wonder why.
Yeah, and then injury's a big part of it, right? At all 3 levels of the defense. So I'm fascinated to see, as an outsider, how the Ravens respond, right? Coming out of the bye, a well-oiled machine. Harbaugh's had success there for years. They've got absolute collection of veteran players that should know how to respond. Can they respond from what they've been through? I don't know. You know, you look at that Buffalo loss, which they kind of blew that game late. It was 1 point. The Detroit game was interesting. A shootout, and then the injuries piled up, and they haven't been real competitive. So I would expect them to have some punch on Sunday. I really would. But some of these numbers, even though you say, well, it is still early in the season are jarring, like the turnover situation for them. You don't go from being as bad as they've been in that category to being great very quickly.
I'm curious, Brad. Let's just get to your pick because I want to ask you questions in light of that. What is your pick for the game?
Well, I think Lamar's going to go, right? And again, I believe you have to operate with that in mind. And I think that, like I said, I think they'll have some punch. They've got veterans. Ronnie Stanley, I think, is going to be back as well. So with sort of the season on the line, I went ahead and took the Ravens 30-24. But the Bears are on a roll here. Or no, I'm sorry, 34-30 is what I picked. So, and if it's 34-30, that you're talking about a shootout type ball game.
That's interesting.
That's a high-scoring game. You think the Bears are capable of scoring 30 against this Raven defense because the Raven defense isn't very good. And if you say that, you expect the passing game to get on track this week with Caleb Williams?
Well, it's going to be better. Right? I would expect it to be better. It needs to be better, and opposing quarterbacks have done pretty well against Baltimore. Opposing quarterbacks with a passer rating of 108.4 against the Ravens, completion percentage of nearly 70% against the Ravens. Like I said, Baltimore's only got the one interception on the season, and the pass rush has been a serious issue for Baltimore. The Bears aren't the only team hunting a pass rush. The Ravens with 8 sacks on the season. And Matabuke, who I mentioned, who's out with a neck injury, he's tops with 2. So their interior push guy is sorely missed.
I find that fascinating, Brad, because I think that in order to score that many points, then the Bears are going to be getting some explosive plays back on offense. The Bears are going to be able to maybe convert in the passing game. Do you think that is there any one player in particular that you feel could have a big day, or are they going to be spreading the wealth? Are they going to feature anyone, in your opinion, or will they be able to get everyone involved in their 7-on-7 drills?
Well, it seems like everything sort of starts with Roma, doesn't it, right? If he's making plays, then maybe it spreads out from there. But I don't think the coaches really sit there and say, "Hey, this is a game for this guy." They're looking at plays and how can we win in these situations, and what are we going to expect to be able to accomplish when we see this coverage? Like, what's our goal here? If the Bears are cooking on offense, they're spread it out. They're continuing to have some success running the football. If you can get those second and short situations, those are perfect where you dial up your shot plays, right? Which you need to do whether you hit them or not to keep the defense honest, to show them like, hey, our quarterback's going to drop back and throw it 45, 50 yards in the air downfield. So you better be prepared to cover it, and then that opens stuff up in that second window. So running the football is key, and then I think spreading the ball around, and they've got to be more efficient than they've been, and that can mean a lot of things, including the completion percentage has got to improve.
We heard from Dennis Allen on Thursday, as we typically do. It's getting amusing to hear him talk around things and not really share many details, especially he was asked about the 3-2-6 defense with a dime package. I thought that was interesting to hear him explain or not explain that. Brad, but how limited might Dennis Allen be if Tyreek Stevenson isn't going to play or is unavailable because of the shoulder injury?
Yeah, I mean, that would be an issue. It's suboptimal to be down your top 2 cornerbacks. They've got some confidence in Nick McLeod. He's had some playing time for him. McLeod got a lot of time in training camp, and he started previously in the league. The question is, how do they handle it? And I think we talked about it a little bit yesterday. Is Kyler the guy outside, and they bring Blackwell in to play the nickel, or McLeod in to play the nickel? Or is Kyler in the nickel part of the time, and you got somebody else outside, and then on occasion Kyler's outside? I don't know how they approach it. I don't think it looks great for Tyreek right now. I haven't seen him since Sunday. Ditto Cole Kmet, but it will be really interesting because Kyler's he's the key, right? How do you want to use him? And you certainly value him as the Swiss Army knife. If you have to play him outside the whole time, are you taking him away from some of the stuff that he's best at? And it's really interesting because there's so many elements to it. The trust level of the next man up, whether it be McLeod on the outside or Blackwell on the inside, and kind of how it all fits together against Baltimore. And then Noah Sewell out of concussion protocol, potentially important if they're going to be in more base situations this week that are going to call on three linebackers being on the field.
What do you think happens with Austin Booker?
Well, Booker's going to be on the 53-man roster before the deadline expires. The deadline isn't until after the game Sunday. It's either Monday or Tuesday that 21-day window for Booker closes. It would be my hunch that Booker has a spot on the 53-man roster by Saturday at 3 o'clock, and then he's an option for the game day roster on Sunday. That transaction would have to take place by 3 o'clock on Saturday. I think that's probably the direction this is headed. Whether or not they also return Imagn Ogbongbemiga, the linebacker, to the 53-man roster from IR, that's a possibility this week, although his clock is 1 week behind Booker's, so they would have a full another week to see where he's at physically in practice. But Booker's going to be back on the 53, and I got to believe he gets a chance to make his debut against Baltimore on Sunday.
If he's in, who's out? Because Dominique Robinson has quietly made his presence felt, or at least justified his spot on the roster.
Yeah, I don't think he's taken the job from Dominique Robinson this week, and that's one of the reasons they've kind of been able to slow play this thing a little bit with Booker, is they've had some guys that have stepped up and done some things for him. It also potentially tells you a couple other things. Maybe he wasn't rip-roaring ready to go when he first got back to practice, and I don't know that he's going to add a ton to this pass rush. If you're going off preseason, yes, he is. But you can make an awful lot of mistakes judging things off of preseason. Hopefully, he can add something. Certainly in the sub-package situations, and they're optimistic. We'll have to see if to clear the roster spot, one guy that potentially maybe Carl Jones Jr. is let go to create some space. Although they've got just a ton of defensive linemen, but I don't think they're in a spot where they move Dominique Robinson out to bring Austin Booker in.
This segment with Brad Biggs is sponsored by Estwing Professional Tools, made in the USA for over 100 years, estwing.com. We asked the question this morning, what's going on with the Bears' growing injury list? They go into practice and all of a sudden Tremaine Edmonds has an ankle, and Kyler Gordon, who was fine the day before or not listed the day before, has a groin/calf. We know that's what he had, and it's back again. It looks like Grady Jarrett will be back, but why all these growing injuries during the week?
I would. I'm very curious to see what Ben Johnson says later today and see the actual final report. If you're going to be glass half full Friday morning with the Bears on a 4-game winning streak, I would look at the addition of Edmonds and Kyler Gordon to the injury report yesterday and say there's certainly a possibility that this is kind of week 8 stuff for them in the NFL season. That it's kind of maintenance. And I've had some people ask for a while now, like, well, why do they have so many injuries? What in the world's the training staff doing? Well, I'm guessing a lot of the people, with these questions and comments are the ones that love the idea of the physical practices and challenges that Ben Johnson and the coaching staff's presenting to them. And, folks, I got news for you. One kind of comes along with the other at times. Not that they're being reckless out there ever at all, but they want to have padded practices that are meaningful. You get one a week during the season, and so you gotta accept the fact that sometimes these type of things are going to pop up. As you alluded to, good news for Grady Jarrett on a potential return. Significant day for Cairo Santos, guys.
Yeah.
Full participation yesterday, but kickers, generally speaking, kick on Wednesdays and Fridays. So that he's full participation on a Thursday doesn't mean as much as it would be if he gets a full designation in practice today for a return from his thigh issue.
Brad, who has more rushing yards on Sunday, Derrick Henry or DeAndre Swift?
Oh boy, if I'm going to go with Henry. He had a really nice game last time out against the Rams after kind of disappearing in that offense. But you consider, I think it's Henry. The Bears have got more ability to, I think, split their backfield, and they want to work in Monangai a little bit. Henry's kind of the workhorse there. He's got 88 carries for the Ravens. The next closest that's a non-quarterback is Justice Hill with 15. So they don't spread the ball around as much as the Bears. So I think you almost have to go with Henry there.
Great stuff, Big Z. We appreciate it, buddy.
Have a good weekend.
Enjoy yourself.
Have a great weekend, guys.